Thanks, Daria. Thanks, Karina. I'll try to hold the bar raised by our awesome founders, and we'll do my best. You won't regret spending next kind of 15 minutes with us. So yeah, I'll just start sharing my screen. I believe you now see it, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So let's go on. So for those we haven't met, with those we haven't met yet. So I'm Yura. So I'm currently the head of scouting and analytics at Ultra. So where we invest in and support impact-driven founders from very early on the journey. And in a nutshell, I've been on all sides of the startup world. Like I've been a VC, a founder, an executive, and can feel the motivations and challenges of all of them. And because of my job and like mindset, I'd say I'm almost constantly in some kind of a research. And this results in tons of insights. And I thought that that would be great to start sharing some of them with more people, not just our like Ultras team. And I would love to start with one take. I believe that the best ideas are born where technological, social, cultural trends intersect. And in fact, social cultural trends are often even more crucial. No new technology will thrive if enough people aren't ready to change their behaviors or attitudes to adopt it. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, to be honest, it typically takes people longer to change their attitudes and habits than to develop new technologies. And you're probably consuming tons of content about like trend focused content. So I believe there is no reason to highlight more or less obvious ones. And for that reason, I won't pay much attention today to important but quite well-known trends like political and economic uncertainty, like remote hybrid work, student debt burden, mental health and physical fitness crisis, and many, many more. So let's not waste any more time. Let's dive in. And while getting prepared for this short talk, I've planned to cover a number of trends actually. But in the process, I've got so excited about one of them that I've decided to focus today solely on it. And this trend is like drum roll, people will have more free time. And please hold on for a couple of minutes. That's deeper than you may think. In fact, the way we view work today is quite new. It's only about 300 years old. And for most of the history, from like hunter-gatherer times to the Greeks and Romans to the Middle Ages, leisure was the foundation of human culture. And only in the 16th century, with the rise of the Protestant work ethic, people began to see work as a way of like self-fulfillment, the way to get closer to God. And since then, many philosophers started to wonder whether or when this might reverse back. And the age of mass leisure envisioned by thinkers like well-known thinkers like Oscar Wilde, like Karl Marx, like John Keynes, still has never happened. There are lots of reasons for that, but mainly it's because the productivity gains in the advanced economies, especially taking into consideration like European and American ones, turned into not less work, but more consumption, more and more consumption. But now, though, these might change, this might start changing. And why I think so is because of three major trends that could finally change this. These trends are an aging population, younger generations challenging traditional work and consumption patterns, and of course, what we can do without it, the rise of AI. Let me explain a bit deeper all of them. So it's no secret that advanced economies are aging quickly, and by 2060, the percentage of Americans aged 65 and older will grow from current 15% to 24%. I will start and we will continue growing. And in Europe, for just to like feel the scale of the trend, 4.5K people turn 65 every single day. Then we move forward, but the thing is not only in the population is getting older, it's also about younger generations that are like there is a growing pushback against the idea that work should be the life's purpose. So for many of Gen Z's, work is becoming less important on this kind of Maslow hierarchy of needs. It just needs to provide them like some basic needs and not self-actualization. In fact, in 2016, there was a research held by Pew Research Center that found that only half of Americans get a sense of identity from their job, and for a third of the of workers, a job was just a paycheck. You can also find some kind of a signals on TikTok, for example, where you can find many young people like proudly shutting their laptops at 5 p.m. Even in the middle of Zoom meetings. And also there is a popular anti-work subreddit that describes itself as the place for those who want to end work and get the most out of a work-free life. And currently, this subreddit boasts of 2.8 million members. A fun fact, that's 3 times more than, for example, the career guidance subreddit. Uh, and when it comes to the third factor I mentioned before, the rise of AI, opinions vary on whether it will let us work less or not. For example, like last week on the Viva Tech Summit in Paris, Elon, probably anticipating my today's speech, stated that jobs will become kind of like a hobby sooner than later. So we are seeing these trends like companies and governments experimenting with the likes of 4-day work weeks and finding some interesting insights. In fact, for example, after a 6-month trial held in 2022 by researchers from Boston College and Cambridge University, 92% of companies participating, that's kind of 56 out of 61, decided to continue the 4-day week permanently. And a year later, 89% of those companies were still sticking to it. And to just sum up this just to sum up, like as the world ages, there will be more retired by active people, increasing the demand for affordable entertainment and personal development. Leisure will be just as important for the working age population as younger generations like fight to reclaim the spare time. And AI could greatly improve productivity, while it's still uncertain whether like if it alone will let us work less, combined with the other trends like I mentioned before, it's very highly likely. So what I'm talking about, I'm talking about that there is basically the birth of a new powerful trend and potentially a huge market. Uh, you can call it in various ways, but I call it the future of leisure. And no, it's not only about entertainment. I really love how social scientists like David Friesman and Robert Weiss highlighted the challenge. So the major challenge is to ensure that technological developments lead to productive and self-fulfilling free time pursuits, not just unemployment. And I completely share this take. And I believe that properly managed leisure could be this ultimate social safety net in an era of technologically driven uncertainty, because it's potentially a space for bootstrapping new like careers which may or may not fit in traditional work, forms of self-employment. It's also a space to move like beyond this career as identity paradigm and contribute to the community through like cultural civic activities that economic models often ignore because they are unremunerated. And where the major problem and major opportunity goes in is that to be sure, most people won't realize the full potential of the leisure on their own. Why? Because most people basically haven't been taught how to find fulfillment in their free time. To the contrary, rather than learning how to cultivate like lifelong interests, education currently focuses on meeting labor market demands. Some even argue that leisure activities are simply not as fulfilling as work, and some even claim to have an empirical evidence of that, which can be arguable, but still. So after all, most unemployed people don't feel liberated; they feel lost. And we are also talking about there was a research in 2018 by UCLA Anderson School of Management that found that working Americans' life satisfaction drops if significantly drops if they have more than 2.5 hours of free time a day. So people are essentially afraid of having free time, you know. There is a great researcher, David Fryer from the University of Queensland. He studies the psychology of unemployment. He's specializing in psychology of unemployment, and he goes even further, saying that the real issue here is social stigma. Like many people might resent the idea of more leisure for more people just because they believe that everyone has a duty to contribute to society through traditional employment. But the fact is that paid labor is only one part of our larger system, and cultural and artistic expression like civic engagement, social and human capital developed during well-spent leisure time are just as important. And all these, like the unemployed subjects, the employed subjects, are basically social constructs. And because of this social stigma, the unemployed often feel like failures just because they measure themselves by like social expectations. But the thing is that people need to like feel needed. And there is a very old, like from dated 1993 study that I really love that found out that those who engage in challenging activities in the leisure time, socially or solo, no matter how, can boost their self-esteem, similar how the work does this job for them. And you may ask, like, and so what? And I'd answer that the ball is on your side. To be honest, my goal today was not to provide you with like answers, clear answers, because we have so different contexts that providing you with some clear answers will just limit the opportunities you can take from this. So my goal was here to share like these tectonic movements I found and get some of you interested to dig deeper. But what I hope all of you to take from this is at least to start paying more attention to the quality of your leisure time at first. And honestly, I get it that this take may not sound like rocket science, but as it usually happens, the real breakthroughs occur at the very fundamental level. And this level may be viewed as too basic or too generic at first. Also, if you're looking for a great space to build and invest in, I hope I've given you some reasons to at least consider where the things are headed. So if you have any thoughts, ideas to discuss, I'd love to hear from you. Just send me an email. So my contacts are on each slide of this presentation. And I'd like to like sum up with the quote that's not mine. I found it during like making my research, but really loved it. So just wanted to share it with you. That in a technologically disrupted future, work may or may not matter anymore, but leisure most certainly will. So I'll leave it with this, and yeah, thanks for the attention. We'll be happy to elaborate more on some details of this or here or maybe via email. So feel free to reach out.
Nice, thank you. Like the future is bright. That's what I took away.
We are doing our best to make it to
Yeah,
price. So.
exactly.